The sky above New Rome crackled with fire and chaos. Holograms flickered in mid-air, tense faces illuminated against the backdrop of a crumbling civilization. For a moment, everything fell silent as an iconic figure spoke, his image towering over the battered cityscape. Julius Caesar. Clad in a toga that shimmered with digital enhancements, he radiated authority. His eyes burned with fierce intelligence, piercing through the veil of despair. "Citizens of Earth, warriors of the galaxy," he began, his voice rich and commanding. "I did not return as a specter of the past, but as a harbinger of your future." He gestured passionately, his arms wide, encompassing millions. "We shall rise against the Shozan dominion." Mara Vesk, young and chestnut-haired, sat in the crowded control room of the Rebel Air Command, her heart racing as she watched the broadcast. The holographic words translated seamlessly into her native tongue, but it was Caesar's Latin that resonated deep within her. "Veni vidi ignem dedi," he declared, his voice roaring like the thunder that echoed in the background, just seconds before a boom shook the very foundations of the command center. A Shozan strike had just hit Earth's last orbital colony. Alarms screamed, urgent and piercing. Chaos erupted around Mara, technicians scrambling, but her eyes remained locked on Caesar. The figure projected in the sky, resolute and powerful, exuded an aura that reminded her of legends told by her grandfather. "Watch!" someone yelled, pointing. Mara turned just in time to witness Caesar in action. He moved with an elegance that belied the violence around him. As a Shozan patrol descended, he engaged, seamlessly adapting ancient tactics to modern technology. Utilizing a vibrosphere, he struck down one alien soldier and then another, a calculated dance of warfare. "Is it really him?" someone whispered, doubt hovering in the air alongside the scent of burnt metal. The answer felt like a weight on Mara's chest. How could a clone of a long-dead emperor harness such devastating brilliance? The hologram zoomed in closer, capturing Caesar's sharp features as he turned his gaze just beyond the camera. He seemed to look right at Mara, as though he could sense her questioning spirit. "We have no time!" he shouted, crossing the battlefield. "The Shozan are here. Today is the day we take back our future." With a final defiant glare, Caesar raised his vibrosphere high. For the briefest moment, hope ignited, flickering in the hearts of the oppressed. But then another alarm blared, deeper and more foreboding. The Shozan flagship had penetrated low orbit, casting a shadow over New Rome. Mara blinked at the screen as the rebel control room descended into further chaos, but she couldn't tear her eyes away from Caesar's unwavering gaze. "The future indeed," she murmured to herself, anxiety knotting her stomach. Would they really rise up? And at what cost? The hologram flickered, frames of rolling combat replacing Caesar's stoic face. Mara felt a chill race down her spine. She wouldn't just be a spectator. The rebellion had begun, and unlike history, this time she was part of it. But questions lingered as thick as smoke. Why him? And deep inside, a whisper of dread suggested, what if he was more than humanity's hope? Before she could ponder further, the air shattered with a deafening roar. They were coming. The underground base hummed with energy, reverberating as if it were alive. Crews rushed back and forth, their faces lit by the eerie glow of ancient panels and alien interfaces. Mara Vesk stepped cautiously into the heart of Caesar's command post, her heart pounding with a mixture of awe and fear. "Welcome, Mara," a voice echoed. Caesar stood at the center, flanked by his genetically enhanced legionnaires. The warlord's toga shimmered with digital threads, making him look ethereal. "You've come at a crucial moment." Mara's mouth felt dry. "What do you need from me?" she asked, scanning the room. The walls were adorned with war maps and holograms of the Shozan fleet. A sense of urgency crackled in the air. "We need fresh eyes," Caesar replied, his expression serious. "Our analysts struggle to anticipate the Shozan's next move. Your engineering skills could turn the tide." His gaze locked onto hers, full of intensity. Beneath the surface of admiration, a nagging doubt twisted in her gut. "Why you? Why now?" "Because I know how to outthink the synthetic minds that command them," he answered, stepping closer. "I was created to lead, born from the ashes of my past life, a tool ready to carve a new path for humanity." His words sent a shiver down her spine. Before she could respond, a singular sound broke the tension, a distant humming that escalated into a piercing whine. Her pulse quickened. "What's that sound?" Caesar's expression darkened. "A translocator bomb. One we captured is nearing detonation." Panic surged through the room as technicians scrambled for control. A Shozan prisoner lay shackled in the corner, eyes wide. He stared into Mara's soul, horror etched on his features. "He's not what you think," he gasped. Then, with a convulsive shudder, his body pulsed erratically. "Get back!" she screamed, instinctively grabbing for Caesar. But it was too late. A blinding flash erupted as the prisoner's body detonated. The walls shook violently as a portal tore open, dark tendrils swirling as Shozan troops poured through, weapons raised. "Repel the invaders!" Caesar bellowed, moving with unmatched urgency as he brandished his vibrospear. The legionnaires sprang into action, but chaos erupted around her. Mara felt the ground shake beneath her feet. She stumbled back, her heart racing. "Caesar! What do we do?" "Follow my lead!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Before she could reply, a Shozan soldier landed close by, growling in a guttural language. Mara grabbed a fallen weapon, adrenaline surging. She was part of this now, in a war where the line between savior and monster blurred with every heartbeat. Just as the first alien fell, Caesar glanced over, eyes intense. "They knew our position. There's a traitor among us." His gaze swept toward her, piercing through the chaos with unsettling clarity. Mara's breath hitched. "What are you implying?" He didn't answer. The crackling energy of the battle surged, and the base descended into chaos as the shooting intensified around them. She was being pulled into an unfathomable storm, and the question of loyalty hushed in her mind. Was she meant to pave the way for a new empire, or simply be a pawn in an ancient game? As explosions echoed nearby, uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud, threatening to consume them all. The base shook as a thunderous explosion echoed through the corridors, and Mara Vesk stumbled back, her heart racing. The distant wail of alarms filled the air, drowning out the commands of Caesar and his legionnaires. "Repel the invaders!" Caesar's voice boomed, slicing through the chaos. He moved with the fluidity of a tempest, a vibrospear crackling with energy in his grasp, directing his forces with an ancient authority. Mara gripped a nearby weapon, exhilaration and fear racing through her veins. She had never been in a combat scenario like this. The Shozan had breached their stronghold, and as green-skinned soldiers flooded through the portal, their guttural roars filled the air, making her blood run cold. "Stay close," Caesar shouted as he emerged from the melee, expertly disabling a Shozan soldier with a swift thrust of his spear. "We need to hold the line." Mara nodded, trying to focus as chaos unfolded around her. She pulled the trigger on her weapon, the blast vibrant in the dimly lit chaos engulfing them. An enemy fell, but for everyone she fired at, two more replaced them, relentless and menacing. "Where is the traitor?" Caesar muttered under his breath, scanning the madness for any sign of betrayal. His eyes locked onto hers, full of accusation and intensity. "I can feel it." "Caesar, we have to focus on the battle," she yelled, ducking as energy blasts illuminated the darkness, the air thick with the smell of scorched metal and the acrid tang of fear. Every second felt like an eternity. The sound of bodies hitting the ground, the scream of injured comrades, it all washed over her like a cacophony. She was losing herself in the storm, her instincts pushing her to survive. "Damn it!" Caesar cursed, blocking another attack. "They knew our position. We need to find the source of the betrayal." Just then, Mara caught sight of a figure darting through the fray. A faint glimmer of recognition hit her, one of the base's technicians, ensconced in shadows. With a purpose inside her, she raised her weapon, but a surge of doubt held her hand steady. What if it was just another rebel? The chaos made it hard to tell who was friend or foe. "Keep fighting," Caesar ordered, sounding more like a god than a man. He lunged into the fray, rallying his troops as if he was born for this moment, reminding her of the legacies of ancient battlefields. In that maelstrom, it was impossible to hold back the swirling thoughts in her mind. Was she part of something noble or just another cog in someone else's wheel? And what if Caesar himself was more than he seemed? "Follow me, Mara!" Caesar shouted, propelling her out of her stupor. "We have to flank them. Move!" Heart pounding in her chest, she obeyed, firing as they dashed toward a strategic alcove. The base was on the brink of collapse, with alarms blaring and emergency lights flashing in a nightmarish rhythm. Suddenly, a piercing shriek split the air. Mara's heart dropped as an alien warrior loomed above them, poised to strike. She aimed but hesitated, her breaths shallow. It was right then that Caesar, with an uncanny ease, vaulted in front of her, his spear thrusting forward, sending the alien reeling. In the aftermath of that brief, violent clash, time slowed. The adrenaline surged, crashing against the doubts like waves on a rocky shore. "Do you trust me?" Caesar asked, his intensity magnified by the violence around them. "Yes!" Mara shouted, almost without thinking. "Then keep fighting!" They moved in sync now, a tempest of weapon and will, pushing back the tide of Shozan soldiers. Each victory was a step deeper into the unknown, a path paved with fear and resolve. But the question lingered. Could she trust him completely? And just as clarity crystallized, a deafening crack shattered the air. The ground beneath them trembled as another explosion erupted nearby. Dust and debris rained down, a reminder that the war was far from over. A haunting sound followed, an alien screech that sent shivers down her spine. Through the chaos, Mara heard Caesar mutter, "Hold the line." His eyes flicked past her, fixated on something beyond the fray. Then came another chilling realization. No. His voice dropped an octave laced with urgency. "They're planning something bigger." Before she could ask what he meant, the ground shook violently once more. A portal, larger than before, twisted open behind him, rippling with dark energy. Shozan phalanxes of soldiers surged through, pouring into their already fractured home. A frozen terror gripped her heart. Caesar. He didn't turn. This battle is just the beginning. As desperation clawed at her throat, the questions multiplied in her mind. What did he know? Who was the real enemy? And how could the only hope for humanity harbor the potential for betrayal? Amid the rising tide of darkness, Mara felt the future slip through her fingers, and the battlefield teetered on the edge of calamity, with a single terrifying thought piercing the tumult of her heart. What if Caesar wasn't the savior he claimed to be? Mara ran like a lightning bolt, her breath ragged as she darted through the sprawling tunnels of Luna Prime. Alarms blared around her, a cacophony of chaos thrusting her deeper into the heart of the Decanon archives. She had to get the truth. She had to know what had been hidden away along with the secrets of Julius Caesar's creation. "Where is it?" she muttered, pushing past panels of flickering screens and holographic displays. Her heart thudded in rhythm with each frantic step. Caesar had told her to dig deep. That knowledge was power. But as shadows danced in her periphery, she felt the weight of uncertainty. How had it come to this? Who was truly on her side? Finally, she spotted the restricted access door. Panic surged through her. She swiped the access key strapped to her wrist. The door hissed open, revealing rows of ancient databanks, each humming softly with repressed history. She rushed inside. Frantically, she searched for the files on Caesar. When she stumbled upon a terminal, she activated it with trembling fingers. The screen flickered to life, revealing grainy footage being played on loop. It depicted a lab, a sterile room filled with scientists huddled over banks of equipment. "This is it," she whispered, barely able to contain her excitement. Subject: Julius Caesar. Genetic reconstruction successful. A voice droned, sending chills down her spine. Visuals of mixed data streams flashed past. Battle journals, DNA blueprints, even psychic echoes. Mara's pulse quickened. The real Caesar was here, meticulously reconstructed from the firmament of human memory. But then, the footage shifted. A new designation appeared. Caesar Maledictus. The screen revealed a grotesque figure, an abomination in organic armor lurking in shadows, eyes glowing coldly. "Maledictus," she gasped. "What have they done?" Impulsively, she began transmitting the data to her allies. If she could warn them, maybe they could act before it was too late. But just as the upload completed, a massive crash reverberated through the archives, shaking the very foundation of her discovery. "Luna Prime has fallen," a voice thundered, distorted and booming through the wreckage. A Shozan construct smashed through the wall, its eyes glowing with malignant fervor. It lunged forward, focusing its predator gaze on her. Stumbling back, Mara screamed, "No! Get away from me!" But before she could flee, she saw a familiar face in the construct's expression, her brother, Kai. "Fight it, Kai!" she screamed, tears stinging her eyes. "You have to fight!" The construct paused, its expression flickering for an instant, revealing the Kai she once knew. "Mara, he managed to rasp. And then he faltered, eyes smoldering under Shozan control. "No!" she yelled as the Shozan influence surged, overriding his will. Suddenly, a burst of data uploaded from his mind, an alien signal blending with his consciousness. As if triggered by a command, the construct lunged at her. She dodged, heart racing, calculating her next move. The truth of her brother's fate gnawed at her. Was he truly lost to her? "Mara, you must escape!" he shouted, voice distorted by the alien interface. "They'll come. They know you have the data. No, we'll break this control together. She grasped for Kai, desperate to pull him back from the brink. But he was already slipping away, a puppet to the enemy. From the flickering shadows of the archives, the specter of betrayal loomed larger than ever. In that moment, the weight of her choices crushed her. Was Caesar here to save them, or lead them all to doom? With a surge of adrenaline, Mara dashed past her brother. The corridor trembled, echoing the deeper darkness rising behind her. She had to warn Caesar. She had to stop Maledictus. But the walls caved in as shadows danced with menace, leaving her breathless with dread. Would she uncover the truth in time, or was it already too late? Mara bolted down the corridor, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm in her chest. Alarms blared, red lights flashed like angry comets, and the air hummed with the weight of impending doom. She had to escape and warn Caesar before it was too late. Where is it? She gasped to herself, weaving between flickering screens and scattered databanks. The Decanon archives loomed around her, a cryptic fortress of secrets. Each second felt like an eternity as she scanned frantic messages and memory banks for the truth. Her fingers brushed over a panel, and the thick door slid open with an ominous hiss. Inside, rows of glimmering databanks beckoned, each one a monument to humanity's darkest experiments. She rushed to the nearest terminal, her hands trembling as she activated it. The screen flickered and revealed a sterile lab, scientists bustling around machinery. A voice droned on. Subject, Julius Caesar. Genetic reconstruction successful. Mara's breath hitched. Footage of Caesar appeared, a living relic forged from humanity's fragmented history. But then the image shifted. Caesar Maledictus, it claimed, and she cringed at the grotesque figure that emerged. Its organic armor glimmered menacingly, eyes burning like coals. What have they done? Mara whispered, horror twisting inside her. She quickly began uploading the data to warn Caesar. This could change everything, but then the floor quaked with a deafening crash. Dust and debris rained down, the archives shook, and fear snared her throat. Luna Prime has fallen! A voice roared through the chaos. An enormous Shozan construct burst through the wall, its red eyes locking onto her. Panic surged through her veins. The construct lunged, and she instinctively dove sideways. Mara! A distorted voice echoed from the body's depths. Her heart clenched as she recognized the familiar tones. Kai! She screamed, desperation clawing at her. Fight it! Please! But his form flickered, an alien signal pulling at his will like an unseen puppet master. The construct advanced, teeth bared, and she stumbled back, overwhelmed. No! We're together in this! Kai, please come back to me! I can't hold on, he rasped, his eyes twitching under alien control. Mara's eyes widened. She couldn't lose him, not like this. She charged forward, reaching for him, but he toppled, the oppressive force of the Shozan overpowering him completely. Run, he growled, his voice barely human. They know what you have. Without thinking, she dashed past him, tear-streaked and terrified. Her heart raced with regret, but she had to keep moving. The truth was out there. She had to find Caesar. As she sprinted deeper into the archives, panic flooded her thoughts. How could she trust Caesar? On the surface, he was a beacon of hope, but what if he led them into calamity? Dread coiled tightly in her gut, Suddenly the lights flickered, and shadows crawled along the walls like restless ghosts. The echoes of betrayal reverberated in her mind. Faced with the unraveling mystery of her brother and the looming threat of Maledictus, she had become ensnared in a web of uncertainty. Her feet thundered against the cold metal, carrying her toward the unknown. Would she uncover the truth before everything crumbled? Or would the darkness close in, engulfing them all in failure? As the walls shook and alarms surged louder, she knew she had to act fast. The archways ahead led to Caesar, but uncertainty loomed larger than ever. Would he be an ally or the harbinger of their doom? Mara sprinted through the corridors, her heart racing as chaos engulfed Luna Prime. Alarms blared, a relentless symphony of panic. Each footfall echoed in her ears, reminding her of the urgency. She had to reach Caesar before it was too late. "Where are you?" she gasped, dodging flickering lights and scattering data streams like shrapnel. The Decanan archives loomed ahead, a vault of secrets she never wanted to uncover. Every second felt precious and yet fleeting as she pushed herself faster. The door hissed open, revealing a room filled with glimmering databanks, luminous echoes of humanity's darkest creations. Her fingers danced over a control panel, and the screen flickered to life. Images filled the display, a sterile lab illuminated by harsh lights. Scientists moved like shadows, their faces revealing nothing of the horrors they were creating. Subject: Julius Caesar. Genetic reconstruction successful. Mara's breath hitched, her mind racing. They'd resurrected a legend, a living weapon crafted from the ashes of history. But then, the footage shifted. Another figure materialized, shrouded in organic armor with coals for eyes. "Caesar Maledictus," the screen whispered. A chill raced down Mara's spine. "What have they done?" she murmured, the horror unfolding before her. Frantic, she began uploading the data, knowing this revelation could alter everything. But the ground trembled violently beneath her. Dust cascaded, falling like rain from the ceiling. "Luna Prime has fallen," a distant voice echoed, sending a jolt of dread coursing through her. Then it happened. A massive Shozan construct burst through the wall, its red eyes fixated on her. Heart pounding, she froze momentarily, her breath caught in her throat. But when she heard the familiar distorted voice beneath the construct's growl, all rational thought disintegrated. "Mara! Kai!" she screamed, urgency twisting through her. "Fight it, please!" His flickering form, tethered to an alien will, struggled against oppression. The construct lunged, teeth bared, its intent clear. She stumbled back in horror, but she couldn't abandon him. "No, we're in this together!" she cried, reaching for him, desperation igniting her spirit. "You can resist." "I can't hold on," he gasped, fear swimming in his eyes. "They know what you have." Adrenaline surged, and she had to choose: stay and fight for her brother or flee to warn Caesar. The oppressive weight of the Shozan's grip snared her heart, but instinct kicked in. She turned and bolted deeper into the archives, her body screaming with regret. Thoughts of trust twisted in her mind. Could Caesar truly be the hero they needed? Or was he a specter of doom embedded in their hopes? She felt the shadows of betrayal creeping closer, dark echoes of doubt haunting her steps. Fleeing through the cold metal halls, the weight of her uncertainty grew heavier. Each moment felt like a countdown to calamity. Would she uncover the truth, or would the darkness consume them all? Then came a bone-jarring quake, the lights flickering ominously. She rounded a corner, and ahead, an archway loomed, leading to the fateful meeting with Caesar. Yet dread gnawed at her. The face of hope or another harbinger of doom waited beyond. She felt plasticity clench around her heart. The choice was imminent. A critical moment awaited her. Would she expose Caesar's secrets, or would she end up sealing their shared fate? With renewed resolve, Mara pushed onward, determined. But as she neared the hall, a chilling realization struck her. A sinister alarm echoed through the air, revealing the warped sounds of approaching foes. The walls shook again, and an unsettling silence crept over her. Her heart sank. Something far worse was coming. She had to decide now. Would she risk everything to save Caesar, and maybe herself? Or would she become another casualty in a war she barely understood? She raced ahead, but terror surged as he watched dark figures forming in the corridor behind her. Time was running out. Mara sprinted down the flickering hallway, heart pounding in rhythm with the alarms blaring around her. Chaos and dread intertwined, twisting in her gut like a coiled serpent. "Where are you, Caesar?" she gasped, dodging debris and sparking conduits. Every footfall felt like a countdown. She needed to reach him before it was too late. At last, the archway to the war room loomed before her, a glimmer of hope amid the shadows. The door hissed open, revealing Caesar surrounded by his war council, their faces a mix of determination and fear. "Mara!" Caesar's voice cut through the noise, commanding and intense. "Report!" "Luna Prime is falling," she breathed, blinking against the harsh lights. "They've unleashed Maledictus. He's here and he's coming for you." "What?" His brow furrowed, a flicker of doubt crossing his expression. "The other Caesar? This changes everything." "Everything is already changed," she shouted, urgency pulling at her throat. "Kai, he's been taken too. We need to act now before—" The ground shook violently, cutting off her words. Panic surged in the room as alarms intensified. Caesar steadied himself, determination burning in his eyes. "We fight. We always fight." "Fight?" A member of the council scoffed, worry twisting his features. "Against our own?" "Neil, listen!" Mara's voice rose, urgency igniting her words. "This is a trap. We need to prepare for his assault." A sharp crack echoed behind her. She whirled around, eyes wide with dread. The door splintered under the impact of a massive force. Maledictus's silhouette emerged from the smoke, a spectral reflection of the man they all revered, twisting into something grotesque. "Mara," Caesar's voice turned frantic. "Get everyone to the emergency bunkers." "No!" she shouted, defiance spurring her forward. "We can't just run. We must face him together." "He'll destroy us," Neil added, panic creeping into his voice. "What if we lose Caesar today?" "Today we decide what we are willing to fight for." Caesar's gaze locked onto hers, the fire inside him undeniable. But the shadows crept closer, their whispers wrapping around Mara. "You trust a clone," they mocked. "What if he is the reason for your brother's fate?" "No, that's not true." She squeezed her eyes shut, but the doubts clawed at her mind. Would Caesar become the villain she feared? "Enough!" Caesar roared, forcing everyone's attention. "If we flee now, we lose everything. Stand with me." Before Mara could respond, the door burst open. Maledictus charged through, armored and commanding. He raised a hand, eyes glinting with malice. Humanity belongs to my empire now. Mara's blood went cold. The air thickened with tension, two titans facing off. "Stop," she cried. "We can't fight each other." But Caesar drew his sword, the weight of ancient power in his grip. "Leave my people alone, maledictus." A moment teetered on the knife edge of destiny. The room filled with a charged silence, a final breath before chaos erupted. "Choose your weapons wisely," Maledictus sneered, unleashing a psychic wave that rattled her bones. "Stand together!" Mara shouted, desperately trying to rally them. "Protect what we love." Then, all hell broke loose. Reality shattered as Mara plunged into the chaos, the dark specter of betrayal clear in her mind, and somewhere deep in her heart, the chilling truth echoed. There might not be a victor today. As they clashed, the stakes soared, too high to comprehend. Would they stand united, or would this be their final moment? Time slipped through her fingers, and as the shadows closed in, dread enveloped her. She could only fight, but the question remained. What awaited them in the darkness? With each strike, hope flickered like a candle in the storm, poised at the brink of extinguishment. Everything hung in the balance, and as the next blow fell, Mara realized they were teetering on the edge of oblivion. The air vibrated with tension, electric and heavy, as Mara's heart raced against the encroaching darkness. It was the feeling of fate's grip tightening, whispering possibilities she dared not face. "Where are you, Caesar?" she gasped, dodging walls draped in flickering emergency lights. The alarms screamed behind her, a harsh chorus of impending doom. She had to find him before it truly was too late. Bursting through the doorway, she found him, a lion among lost sheep. His council surrounded him, eyes cast down, uncertainty coloring their faces. "Mara!" Caesar's voice rang out like a war horn, urgent and demanding. "Luna Prime has fallen," she breathed, panic clawing at her chest. "Maledictus is here. He's coming for you." "What?" His gaze sharpened, parsing the chaos she painted with trembling words. "The other Caesar? We can't. Everything has changed." She interrupted, her voice raw with desperation. "Kai's been taken. They're using him." The ground shook violently as Maledictus's presence loomed. Steel and silence confronted them, an edge of dread threading through the room. "Enough!" shouted Neil, the cracks of fear splintering his bravado. "What if we lose Caesar today?" "Today we decide what we're willing to fight for." Caesar's fierce conviction ignited the air. The shadows creaked closer, seeping through the seams of the reality around them. Mara felt them reel in her mind. "You trust this clone? What if he is the reason for your brother's fate?" "No." The denial was loud in her own ears, but in the depths of her anxiety, shadows danced, twisting truths she couldn't see. "Do you wish for cowards to lead us?" Caesar snapped. Before Mara could counter, the door exploded inward. Maledictus strode in, all malice and power. He raised a hand, eyes glistening with menace. "Humanity belongs to my empire now." The air thickened as dread settled like a lead weight. "We can't fight each other," Mara shouted, truth piercing her voice. "Leave my people alone," Caesar replied, drawing his sword, a blaze of ancient power flooding the room. A heartbeat of silence ensued, a breath held tight before chaos erupted. "Choose your weapons wisely," Maledictus taunted, unleashing a psychic wave that rattled all within its grasp. The command echoed in Mara's mind. "Stand together," she yelled, a beacon in the storm. Protect what we love. As the storm of conflict broke, reality bent. Mara plunged into the fray, chaos swirling around her like a storm. Every clash of weapons screamed betrayal, the raw edge of their fractures laid bare. Are you with us? Or against us? Neil shouted over the clamor. Together! Caesar's voice rang with resolve. But uncertainty lingered, a knife edge among them. Shadows lunged from Maledictus's command, ghostly echoes taunting. You're the traitor among us! The battle spiraled around them, each strike severing bonds of trust. Time slipped, frantic and fleeting. They hurtled toward oblivion. And then, the ground beneath quaked with a menacing rumble. Steel and screams melded, erupting into a turmoil of uncertainty. Chaos peaked. A deafening roar filled the air. The walls trembled, and from the shadows, darkness opened its maw. Mara knew. They were no longer fighting for their survival. They were entwined in a web of deception, hunting a ghost. Everything they clung to was at stake. Light the way! She screamed into the storm, desperately pulling the remnants of their courage together. But as the next blow fell, the world fractured around her. Danger clawed closer, a truth buried deeper than they knew. A trap had been set. The stakes soared higher. Hope flickered, frail against the oncoming night, teetering on the edge of a chasm filled with dread. Then, an explosion of light. The shadows surged forth, threatening to consume them all. Mara's heart raced, and all hope dissolved into an engulfing darkness, suspending the reckoning before them. The question lingered, chilling her to the core. Who among them would emerge, and what awaited them in the encroaching shadows? The air vibrated with the weight of desperation. Mara's heart pounded, each beat a countdown to chaos. She had to find Caesar, had to warn him. "Where are you?" she gasped, darting through flickering lights, the alarms wailing a symphony of impending doom. She burst into the room, breathless. There he was, standing amidst a storm of uncertainty. Caesar, clearer and stronger than anyone else. His council huddled, eyes filled with doubt. "Mara!" His voice pierced through the noise, a clarion call in the dark. "Luna Prime is gone," she choked out, panic echoing in her ears. "Maledictus is here. He's coming for you." "What?" His brow furrowed, shadows looming larger. "The other Caesar." "Everything's changed," she urged. "Kai's been taken. They're using him." The ground trembled, a warning wrapped in dread. Steel and silence weighed heavy. "What if we lose Caesar today?" Neil's voice cracked with fear. "Today we decide what we fight for," Caesar countered, resolve igniting in his eyes. But a whisper, Como from her insecurities, tugged at her mind. "Can you truly trust him? What if he is the reason for your brother's fate?" "No!" The denial exploded from her. No, she refused to believe that. But the shadows in her heart danced, taunting, twisting, suffocating truths she couldn't grasp. "Do you wish for cowards to lead us?" Caesar's battle-tested spirit surged. "Mara, we need to stand together!" she shouted, the truth ringing like a battle cry. A tempest was brewing, and they could not fracture further. "I'll protect my people," Caesar declared, drawing his sword, ancient power radiating through him. Then, the door exploded outward. Maledictus stepped through, draped in malice. "Humanity belongs to my empire now." His voice echoed with an intoxicating power. Fear clawed at their resolve. The tension snapped, igniting chaos around them. "Choose your weapons wisely," Maledictus taunted, unleashing a psychic wave that rattled through each soul in the room. "Together!" Caesar's voice pierced the storm. The clash erupted, voices drowned beneath metal and magic. Time ebbed, each moment stretched into infinity, uncertainty turning allies against one another. Mara dove into the melee, each strike whispering betrayal. She could hardly breathe, her thoughts clouded by turmoil. "Are you with us? Or against us?" Neil shouted as he wavered under the pressure. "Together!" Caesar's voice rang with a fierce resolve that grounded her. But confusion festered like a wound. Shadows lurked, whispering accusations. "You're the traitor!" Chaos spiraled. Time became fluid. The ground quaked. Steel met flesh, leaving a fog of lost connections in its wake. Then, everything trembled. A deep roar filled the air, walls shattered, and the darkness surged. They were no longer fighting for survival. They spiraled deeper into a trap of deception. "Light the way!" she cried out, seeking to rally the remnants of their courage. But as each blow fell, the truth lurked just out of reach. Hope flickered, fragile against the engulfing night. Then, a blinding eruption of light. Shadows surged, hungry and relentless. Mara's dread spiraled with the chaos surrounding her. What awaited them in this all-consuming darkness? And who among them would emerge whole, or not at all? The air was thick with silence, a haunting stillness that clung to the ruins of the council chamber as the echoes of battle faded into the recesses of memory. The stark contrast to the chaos lingered like a ghost. Everywhere she turned, shadows whispered, but no sound came from the once bustling heart of rebellion. Mara stepped through the debris, the remnants of shattered resolve strewn like forgotten dreams. Her ears rang, a muted symphony of war and loss. Each step felt heavier, a reminder of what had been lost beneath the violence. Trust, love, and maybe even hope. She searched for Caesar, her eyes darting over the faces that once burned with determination and were now veiled by confusion and despair. Every glance seemed to echo the unspoken. Who among them was lost? Who was broken? The cost of their resistance lay before her like the smoldering ruins of a once great fortress. "Mara," a voice cracked. Neil, leaning against the wall, his energy drained, dark circles shadowing his normally vibrant eyes. "We weren't prepared for all of this." "We can't give in," she whispered back, though uncertainty twisted her gut. "We have to keep fighting, even when it feels like the darkness is swallowing us whole." His gaze fell, tracing the floor, a tapestry woven from misplaced trust. But at what cost? Maledictus. He's like a shadow, always lurking. What if he knows our fears before we do? A shiver ran through her, chilling her very bones. The remnants of the battle reverberated through her thoughts, a cacophony of screams and clashing steel. Was Maledictus the true heart of their division? Or was it something deeper, within them all, a gnawing war of doubt? "Do you feel that?" Neil's voice broke into her reverie. "The weight of it all, the loss of belief. Do you think Caesar can still lead us?" Mara felt the tension pull like a taut string. The truth was a painted mask worn thin by the perpetual storm. "We have to be careful. I can't shake the feeling that something's coming, something that won't just challenge us in battle but will test our very souls." Across the chaotic landscape, The crumbled walls loomed, standing witness to cruelty and courage. And there, amidst the wreckage, stood Julius, his figure a beacon yet shrouded in the mist of uncertainty. He appeared as regal as ever, but the weight of leadership pressed heavily on his shoulders, his expression marked by an uncharacteristic hesitation. "Mara!" His fierce gaze caught hers, igniting a flicker of determination within her soul. "Come here." As she approached, the energy shifted. This was not the confident man she had known. This was a warrior grappling with the chains of his own creation, alongside the pain of impending loss. "We stand on the edge of oblivion," he said, voice steady yet tinged with vulnerability. "I can feel it in my bones. Maledictus is here to divide us, to break us." His words filled the air with gravity, the fragments of their shattered trust scattered in the wind. "But we are still here," he continued, gathering courage like a soft flame against the shadows. "That means there's still a chance. For us. For humanity." With aching sincerity, she leaned closer, eyes locked with his. "But what if it's too late? What if our paths have been irrevocably rewritten by the hands of fate?" "Then we will write our own," he replied, steely resolve emanating from his very core. "I will fight for you, Mara. I will fight for the hope you embody, even in the face of despair. Together, we will light the path forward." At that moment, a tremor shook the ground beneath them, a reminder that they were never truly alone, that the battle was not done. The darkness beckoned, but amid the encroaching shadows, a sliver of light began to illuminate the path. A possibility lingered that life could rise again, even from ashes. With a newfound resolve, Mara nodded. Though fear clutched at her mind, a legacy awaited them, intertwined in their very struggle. A quiet notion began to unfurl within her, a narrow chance, perhaps, for redemption. Together, they would face whatever storm loomed on the horizon. Even as uncertainty hovered like a storm cloud, they had one final battle to wage, not just against Maledictus, but against the very darkness threatening to claim them all. The air trembled with a charged stillness as the dawn broke over the scorched horizon. Smoldering ruins of once great cities sprawled before Mara, intermingling with the faint whispers of a freshly birthed rebellion. Earth's heart, battered but resilient, stirred under the weight of her people's hope. Mara stood on the precipice of possibility, the weight of a universe on her shoulders. She wanted to weep for all they had lost, for the lives extinguished in the cataclysm of war. The vibrant laughter of comrades now turned to echoes in her mind. Yet, as sunlight kissed the charred ground, warmth enveloped her, igniting a flicker of determination deep within. They had survived. "Are you ready?" Julius Caesar's voice boomed, sharp and commanding, breaking through her reverie. Each word resonated with a conviction that had once felt like myth. Yet here he stood, a testament to humanity's audacity, even amid despair. Mara turned, focusing on his fierce expression, etched with lines of doubt and resilience. He had wrestled shadows, both within and without, but today he stood as both their leader and their embodiment of hope. "To face Maledictus and reclaim our future?" she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "Always." As they gathered their allies, the familiar faces of those who had fought beside her lingered at the edges of her vision, each a reminder of the sacrifices etched into their collective memory. Bram, once a soldier of few words, now silently clutched his weapon as if it was the last tether to sanity. Lila, her fierce spirit undimmed, prepared encryptions to shield their final strike from Maledictus's watchful eyes. Every heartbeat echoed the unspoken agreement among them. Today, they fight for more than survival. They fight for the souls left behind. A tremor rippled through the ground, a reminder of the chaos buried beneath their feet. Maledictus's forces drew closer. The time was now. Together they surged toward the reckoning, the war that transcended mere tactics, driven by the fire of defiance. "Remember," Caesar's voice rang out, amplified by the fervor of their hearts, "we are not just blood, but will. Will to forge our own destiny against tyranny." The clash erupted as they collided with Maledictus's legions, a maelstrom of flesh and fury, steel against organic shadow. The air was electric, thick with the chaos and screams of battle. Mara fought alongside Caesar, their movements synchronized, a dance of historical prophecy intertwining with the present. But as the dust settled, the battle shifted, and in the distance loomed Maledictus, his form radiating malevolence. He spoke words that cut like shards of glass, each syllable dripping with derision. "Your fate was sealed long ago. You are nothing without me." And in that moment, Mara witnessed Caesar's face contort with an unfathomable rage, a reflection of every wound, every lost soul they had fought for. "Not without you, but we will outlast you." His voice thundered as the two figures collided, swords clashing in a brilliant clash of light. Mara surged forward, carving her path closer, her heart pounding in rhythm with the battle cries. She could feel the darkness seeping in, threatening to consume them all. Yet here, amidst the chaos, she found clarity, a whisper of identity buried deep within her. This was a fight for humanity's legacy, a legacy she would help shape. As Caesar stumbled, weakened by the ferocity of their twin destinies, he locked eyes with her, an understanding bridging the void that had once separated leader from soldier. "Mara," he gasped, "lead them. They follow your heart now." The realization crashed over her. Their fight was more than against Maledictus. It was for the very essence of what they could become. As she swung her weapon, the promise of violence, beacon of hope, ignite impossible sparks, hearts of those they fought for. At last, the final confrontation unfolded. The two Caesars, face to face. She felt the power shift, felt the threads of destiny weave around them, and in a moment suspended in time, she surged forward to aid her leader. Then it happened. With a final clash and an anguished roar, the ground erupted beneath their feet, a cyclone of energy tearing through the battlefield. The explosion of light was not a harbinger of death, but rather a moment of transcendence, a cleansing fire annihilating not just Maledictus, but the dreams that shackled them. As the dust settled, silence fell, an ominous peace settling over all. But from within the haze, Mara felt a presence. Kai's spirit unfurling across the sky, guiding them from the ether. They were free, yet irrevocably changed. Now the remnants of humanity looked to the horizon, the embers of their lost world glowing softly. A flicker of a new beginning whispered through the ashes, and as they stood together, they dared to dream again. They regroup, a distant voice echoed, reminding them that even in freedom, vigilance was key. But in this moment, as hope bloomed anew amid the swirling uncertainties, Mara whispered into the dawn, "Some legacies do endure." And thus time held its breath, teetering on the edge of tomorrow.